The Gibeonite deception. Now, when all the kings of the west of the Jordan heard about these things, the kings in the hill country, in the western foothills, and along the entire east coast of the Mediterranean Sea as far as Lebanon, the kings of the Hittites, Amorites, Canaanites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites, they came together to wage war against Joshua and Israel. However, when the people of Gibeon heard what Joshua had done to Jericho and Ai, they resorted to a ruse. They went as a delegation whose donkeys were loaded with worn out sacks and old wineskins, cracked and mended. They put worn and patched sandals on their feet and wore old clothes. All the bread of their food supply was dry and moldy. They went to Joshua in the camp of Gilgal and said to him and the Israelites, "We have come from a distant country. Make a treaty with us." The Israelites said to the Hivites, "But perhaps you live near us, so how can we make a treaty with you?" "We are your servants," they said to Joshua. But Joshua asked, "Who are you and where do you come from?" They answered, "Your servants have come from a very distant country because of the fame of the Lord your God, for we have heard reports of him. All he did in Egypt, all he did to the two kings of the Amorites east of the Jordan, Sihon king of Heshbon, and Og king of Bashan, who reigned in Ashtaroth. And our elders and all those living in our country said to us, Take provisions for your journey, and go and meet them and say to them, We are your servants, make a treaty with us. This bread of ours is warm when we packed it at home on the day we left to come to you, but now see how dry and moldy it is. And these wineskins that we filled were new, but see how cracked they are, and our clothes and sandals are worn out by the very long journey. The Israelites sampled their provisions, but did not inquire of the Lord. Then Joshua made a treaty of peace with them to let them live, and the leaders of the assembly ratified it by oath. 3 days after they made the treaty with the Gibeonites, the Israelites heard they were that they were neighbors living near them. So the Israelites set out, and on the third day came to their cities: Gibeon, Kephirah, Beeroth, and Kirath, and Jearim. But the Israelites did not attack them because the leaders of the assembly had sworn an oath to them by the Lord, the God of Israel. The whole assembly grumbled against the leaders, but all the leaders answered, We had given them our oath by the Lord, the God of Israel. We cannot touch them now. This is what we will do to them. We will let them live so that God's wrath will not fall on us for breaking the oath we swore to them. They continued, Let them live, but let them be woodcutters and water carriers in the service of the whole assembly. So the leaders' promise to them was kept. Then Joshua summoned the Gibeonites and said, Why did you deceive us by saying we live a long way from you, while actually you live near us? Now you are under a curse. You will never be released from services as woodcutters and water carriers from the house of my God. They answered Joshua, Your servants were clearly told how the Lord your God had commanded his servant Moses to give you the whole land, to wipe out all of its inhabitants from before you. So we feared for our lives because of you, and that is why we did this. We are now in your hands. Do to us whatever seems good and right to you. So Joshua saved them from the Israelites, and they did not kill them. And that day he made the Gibeonites woodcutters and water carriers for the assembly to provide for the needs of the altar of the Lord at the place the Lord would choose. And that is what they are. And that is what they are to this day. The sun stands still. Now Adoni-Zedek, king of Jerusalem, heard that Joshua had taken Ai and totally destroyed it, doing to Ai and its king as he had done to Jericho and its king. And the people of Gibeon had made a treaty of peace with Israel and had become their allies. He and his people were very much alarmed at this, because Gibeon was an important city like one of the royal cities. It was larger than Ai, and all its men were good fighters. So Adoni-Zedek, king of Jerusalem, appeared to Hoham, king of Hebron, Param, king of Jarmuth, and Japiah, king of Lachish, and Debir, king of Eglon. Come up and help me attack Gibeon, he said, because it has made peace with Joshua and the Israelites. Then the 5 kings of the Amorites, the kings of Jerusalem, Hebron, Jarmuth, Lachish, and Eglon, joined forces. They moved up with all their troops and took positions against Gibeon and attacked it. The Gibeons, the Gibeonites, then set then sent word to Joshua in the camp of Gilgal, Do not abandon your servants. Come up to us quickly and save us. Help us, because all the Amorite kings from the hill country have joined forces against us. So Joshua marched up from Gilgal with his entire army, including all the best fighting men. The Lord said to Joshua, Do not be afraid of them. I have given them into your hand. Not one of them will be able to withstand you. After an all-night march from Gilgal, Joshua took them by surprise. The Lord threw them into confusion before Israel. So Joshua and the Israelites had defeated them completely at Gibeon. Israel pursued them along the road going up to Beth Horon and cut them down all the way to Azekah, and Makkedah as they fled before Israel on the road down to Beth Horon to Azekah to the Lord. The Lord hurled large hailing stones down on them, and more of them died from the hail than were killed by the sword of the Israelites. On the day the Lord gave the Amorites over to Israel, Joshua said to the Lord in the presence of Israel, "Sun, stand still over Gibeon, and you, moon, and over the valley of Ahijalon." So the sun stood still, and the moon stopped, till the nation avenged itself on its enemies. It is written in the book of Jashar, the sun stopped in the middle of the sky and delayed going down about a full day. There has never been a day like it before or since the day when the Lord listened to a human being. Surely the Lord was fighting for Israel. Then Joshua returned with all Israel to the camp of Gilgal. 5 Amorite kings killed. Now the 5 kings had fled and hidden in the cave of Makkedah. When Joshua was told that the 5 kings had been found hidden in the cave of Makkedah, he said, roll large rocks up to the mouth of the cave. Post some men there and guard it. Do not stop. Pursue your enemies, attack them from rear, and do not let them reach their cities, for the Lord your God has given them into your hands. So Joshua and the Israelites defeated them completely, but a few survivors managed to reach their fortified cities. The whole army returned safely to Joshua in the camp of Makkedah, and no one uttered a word against the Israelites. Joshua said, "Open the mouth of the cave and bring those 5 kings out to me." So they brought the 5 kings out of the cave, the kings of Jerusalem, Hebron, Jarmuth, Lachish, and Eglon. When they had brought these kings to Joshua, he summoned all the men of Israel and said to the army commanders who had come with him, "Come here and put your feet on the necks of these kings." So they came forward and placed their feet on their necks. Joshua said to them, "Do not be afraid, do not be discouraged, be strong and courageous. This is what the Lord will do to all the enemies you are going to fight." Then Joshua put the kings to death and exposed their bodies on 5 poles, and they were left hanging on the poles until evening. At sunset, Joshua gave the order, and they took them down from the poles and threw them into the cave where they had been hiding. At the mouth of the cave, they placed large rocks, which are there to this day. Southern cities conquered. That day, Joshua took Makkedah. He put the city and its king to the sword and totally destroyed everyone in it. He left no survivors, and he did to the king of Makkedah as he had done to the king of Jericho. Then Joshua and all Israel with him moved on from Makkedah to Libnah and attacked it. The Lord also gave that city and its king into Israel's hand. The city and everyone in it, Joshua put to the sword. He left no survivors there, and he did to his king as he done to the king of Jericho. Then Joshua and all Israel with him moved on from Libnah to Lachish. He took up positions against it and attacked it. The Lord gave Lachish into Israel's hands, and Joshua took it on the second day. The city and everyone in it he put to the sword, just as he had done to Libnah. Meanwhile, Hiram, king of Gezer, had come up to help Lachish, but Joshua defeated him and his army until no survivors were left. Then Joshua and all Israel with him moved on from Lachish to Eglon. They took up positions against it and attacked it. They captured it the same day and put it to the sword and totally destroyed everyone in it, just as they had done to Lachish. Then Joshua and all Israel with him went up from Eglon to Hebron and attacked it. They took the city and put it to the sword, together with its kings, villages, and everyone in it. They left no survivors, just as at Eglon. They totally destroyed it and everyone in it. Then Joshua and all Israel with him turned around and attacked Debir. They took the city, its king, and its villages and put them to the sword. Everyone in it they totally destroyed. They left no survivors, and they did to Debir and its king as they done to Libnah and its king and to Hebron. So Joshua subdued the whole region, including the hill country. Then he gave the western foothills and the mountain slopes, together with all their kings. He left no survivors. He totally destroyed all who breathed, just as the Lord God of Israel had commanded. Joshua subdued them from Kadesh Barnea to Gaza, and from the whole region of Goshen to Gibeon. All these kings and their lands Joshua conquered in one campaign, because the Lord, the God of Israel, fought for Israel. Then Joshua returned with all Israel to the camp at Gilgal. Northern kings defeated. When Jabin, king of Hazar, heard this, he sent word to Joab, king of Madon, to the kings of Shimron and Axphab, and to the northern kings who were in the mountains in the Arabah, south of Kinnereth, in the western foothills, and in the Napoth Dor in the west, to the Canaanites in the east and west, to the Amorites, Hittites, Perizzites, Jebusites in the hill country, and to the Hivites below Hemron in the region of Mizpah. They came out with all their troops and a large number of horses and chariots, a huge army, as numerous as the sand on the seashore. All these kings joined forces and made camp together at the waters of Meron to fight against Israel. The Lord said to Joshua, "Do not be afraid of them, because by this time tomorrow I will hand all of you them slain over to Israel. You were to hamstring their horses and burn their chariots." So Joshua and his whole army came against them suddenly at the waters of Meron and attacked them, and the Lord gave them into the hand of Israel. They defeated them and pursued them all the way to Greater Sidon, to Mesrepoth Maim, into the valley of Mizpah on the east, until no survivors were left. Joshua did to them as the Lord had directed. He hamstrung their horses and burned their chariots. At the time Joshua turned back and captured Hazor and put its king to the sword. Hazor had been the head of all these kingdoms. Everyone in it they put to the sword. They totally destroyed them, not sparing anyone that breathed, and he burned Hazor itself. Joshua took all these royal cities and their kings and put them to the sword. He totally destroyed them as Moses the servant of the Lord had commanded. Yet Israel did not burn any of the cities built on their mounds except Hazor, which Joshua burned. The Israelites carried off for themselves all the plunder and livestock of these cities, but all the people they put to the sword until they completely destroyed them, not sparing anyone that breathed, as the Lord commanded his servant Moses. So Moses commanded Joshua, and Joshua did it. He left nothing undone of all the Lord of all that the Lord had commanded Moses. So Joshua took this entire land, the hill country, all the Negev, the whole region of Goshen, the western foothills, the Arabah, the mountains of Israel with their foothills, from Mount Halak, which rises towards Seir, to Baal Gad in the valley of Lebanon, below Mount Hermon. He captured all their kings and put them to death. So Joshua waged war against all these kings for a long time, except for the Hivites living in Gibeon. Not one city made a treaty of peace with the Israelites, who took them all in battle. For it was the Lord himself who hardened their hearts to wage war against Israel, so that he might destroy them totally, exterminating them without mercy, as the Lord had commanded Moses. At that time Joshua went and destroyed the Anakites from the hill country, from Hebron to Beer and Anab, from all the hill country of Judah, and from all the hill country of Israel. Joshua totally destroyed them and their towns. No Anakites were left in Israelite territory. Only in Gaza, Gath, Ashdod did any survive. So Joshua took the entire land just as the Lord had directed Moses, and gave it as an inheritance to Israel according to their tribal divisions. Then the land had rest from war. List of defeated kings. These are the kings of the land whom the Israelites had defeated and whose territory they took over east of the Jordan, from Arnon Gorge to Mount Hermon, including all the eastern side of the Arabah. Sihon, the king of the Amorites who reigned in Heshbon, he ruled from Arar on the rim of the Arnon Gorge, from the middle of the gorge to the Jabbok River, which is the border of the Ammonites. This included half of Gilead. He also ruled over the eastern Arabah, from the Sea of Gilead to the Sea of Arabah, that is the Dead Sea, to Beth Jeshemoth, and then southward below the slopes of Pisgah, and the territory of Og, king of Bashan, one of the last of the Rephaites who reigned in Ashroth at Edrei. He ruled over Mount Hermon, Salecah, all of Bashan, to the border of the people of Geshur, and Makkah, and half of Gilead, to the border of Sihon, king of Heshbon. Moses, the servant of the Lord, and the Israelites conquered them. And Moses, the servant of the Lord, gave their land to the Reubenites, Gadites, and the half-tribe of Manasseh to be their possession. Here is a list of the kings of the land that Joshua and the Israelites conquered on the west side of the Jordan, from Baal Gad and the valley of Lebanon to Mount Halak, which rises towards Seir. Joshua gave their lands as an inheritance to the tribes of Israel, according to their tribal divisions. The land includes the hill country, the western foothills, the Arabah, the mountain slopes, the wilderness, and the Negev. These were the lands of the Hittites, Amorites, Canaanites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites. These were the kings. King of Jericho, the king of Jericho, the king of Ai, near Bethel, the king of Jerusalem, the king of Hebron, the king of Jarmuth, the king of Lachish, the king of Eglon, the king of Gezer, the king of Debir, the king of Geter, the king of Hormah, the king of Arad, the king of Libnah, the king of Adullam, the king of Makeda, the king of Bethel, the king of Tapua, the king of Heper, the king of Apek, the king of Lasharon, the king of Madon, the king of Hazor, the king of Shimron, Meron, the king of Akshap, the king of Tanach, the king of Megiddo, the king of Kadesh, the king of Jokneam and Carmel, the king of Dor and Nabtavdor, the king of Goyim and Gigal, the king of Tisra, 31 kings in all. Land is still be taken. When Joshua had grown old, the Lord said to him, "You are now very old, and there are still very large areas of land to be taken over. This is the land that remains, all the regions of the Philistines and Gershurites, from the Shahar River on the east of Egypt to the territory of Ekron on the north, all of it counted as Canaanite, held by the 5 Philistine rulers in Gaza, Ashdod, Ashkelon, Gath, and Ekron, the territory of the Avites on the south of all the land of the Canaanites, from Arah of the Sidonians as far as Apek, and the border of the Amorites, the area of Byblos, and all Lebanon to the east, from Baal Gad to below Mount Hebron to Lebon Hamath. As for all the inhabitants of the mountain regions from Lebanon to Misroth Maim, that is, all the Sidonians, I myself will drive them out before the Israelites. Be sure to allocate this land to Israel and for an inheritance, as I have instructed you, and divide it as an inheritance among the 9 tribes and the half tribe of Manasseh. Division of the east land of the Jordan. The other half of Manasseh, the Reubenites and the Gadites, received the inheritance that Moses had given them east of the Jordan, as he, the servant of the Lord, had assigned it to them. It extended from Aurora on the rim of the Arnon Gorge, and from the town in the middle of the gorge, and included the whole plateau of Medeba as far as Dibon, and all the towns of Sihon, king of the Amorites, who ruled in Heshbon, out to the border of the Ammonites. It also included Gilead, the territory of the people of Geshur, and Makkah, all of Mount Hermon, and all Bashan as far as the Salakah. That is the whole kingdom of Og and Bashan, who had reigned in Ashtaroth and Edrei. He was the last of the Rephaites. Moses had defeated them and taken over the land, but the Israelites did not drive out the people of Geshur and Makkah, so they continue to live among the Israelites to this day. But to the tribe of Levi he gave no inheritance, since the food offerings presented to the Lord, the God of Israel, are their inheritance, as he promised them. This is what Moses had given to the tribe of Reuben according to its clans: the territory of Aurora on the rim of the Arnon Gorge, and from the town in the middle of the gorge, and the whole plateau past Medeba to Heshbon and all its towns in the plateau, including Dibon, Bemothbal, Beth Baal Meon, Jahaz, Kedemoth, Mepazath, Kirithium, Sibmah, Zareth, Shahar on the hill in the valley, Beth Peor, the slopes of Pigsah, and Beth Jeshimoth, all the towns on the plateau, and the entire realm of Sihon, king of the Amorites, who ruled at Heshbon. Moses had defeated him and the Midianite chiefs, Evi, Rakem, Zur, and Reba, princes allied with Sihon, who lived in that country. In addition to those slain in battle, the Israelites put the sword to Balaam, son of Beor, who practiced divination. The boundary of the Reubenites was the bank of the Jordan. These towns and their villages were the inheritance of the Reubenites according to their clans. This is what Moses had given to the tribe of Gad according to its clans: the territory of Jezer, all the towns of Gilead, and half the Ammonite country as far as Aurora and Rabbah, and from Hishboth to Ramah, Mizpah to Betonim, and from Mahanaim to the territory of Debir, and in the valley Beth Haram, Beth Nimrah, Sukkoth, and Zapan, with the rest of the realm of Sihon, king of Heshbon, the east side of the Jordan, the territory up to the end of the Sea of Galilee. These towns and their villages were the inheritance of the Gadites according to their clans. This is what Moses had given to the half tribe of Manasseh, that is, to half the family of the descendants of Manasseh according to its clans. The territory extended from Mahanaim and including all of Bashan, the entire realm of Og, king of Bashan, and the settlements of Jair and Bashan, 60 towns, half of Gilead, Ashtaroth and Edrei, the royal cities of Og and Bashan. This was for the descendants of Machir, son of Manasseh, for half the sons of Machir according to their clans. This is the inheritance of Moses. This is the inheritance Moses had given when he was in the plains of Moab across the Jordan east of Jericho. But to the tribe of Levi, Moses had given no inheritance. The Lord, the God of Israel, is their inheritance, as he promised them. Division of the land west of the Jordan. Now these are the areas the Israelites received as an inheritance in the land of Canaan, which Eleazar the priest, Joshua son of Nun, and the heads of tribal clans of Israel allotted them. Their inheritance were assigned by lot to the 9.5 tribes as the Lord commanded through Moses. Moses had granted the 2.5 tribes their inheritance east of the Jordan, but had not granted the Levites an inheritance among the rest. For Joseph's descendants had become 2 tribes, Manasseh and Ephraim. The Levites received no share of the land, but only towns to live in, with pasture land for their flocks and herds. So the Israelites divided the land just as the Lord had commanded Moses. Allotment for Caleb. Now the people of Judah approached Joshua at Gilgal, and Caleb, son of Jephunneh, the Kenizzite, said to him, "You know what the Lord said to Moses, the man of God at Kadesh Barnea, about you and me. I was 40 years old when Moses, the servant of the Lord, sent me from Kadesh Barnea to explore the land, and I brought him back according to my convictions. But my fellow Israelites who went up with me, made the hearts of the people melt in fear. I, however, followed the Lord my God wholeheartedly. So on that day Moses swore to me, the land on which your feet have walked will be your inheritance, and that of your children forever, because you have followed the Lord my God wholeheartedly. Now then, just as the Lord promised, he has kept me alive 45 years since the time he said this to Moses, while Israel moved about in the wilderness. So here I am today, 85 years old. I'm still as strong today as the day Moses sent me out. I'm just as vigorous to go out to battle as I was then. Now give me this hill country that the Lord promised me that day. You yourself heard then that the Anakites were there, and their cities were large and fortified. But the Lord helping me, I would drive them out just as he said. Joshua blessed Caleb, son of Jephunneh, and gave him Hebron as his inheritance. So Hebron belonged to Caleb, son of Jephunneh, the Kenizzite, the the Kenizzite ever since, because he followed the Lord, the God of Israel, wholeheartedly. Hebron used to be called Kiriath Arba, after Arba, who was the greatest man among the Anakites. Then the land had rest from war. Allotment for Judah. The allotment for the tribe of Judah, according to its clans, extended down to the territory of Edom to the desert of Zin in the extreme south. Their southern boundary started from the bay at the southern end of the Dead Sea, crossed the south of the Scorpion Pass, continued on Zin, and went over to the south of Kadesh Barnea. Then it ran past Hezron up to Adar and curved around Karka, and then passed along to Asmon and joined the Wadi of Egypt, ending at the Mediterranean Sea. This is their southern boundary. The eastern boundary is the Dead Sea as far as the mountain of the Jordan. The northern boundary started from the Bay of the Sea to the mouth of the Jordan and went up to Beth Hoglah and continued north of Beth Araba to the stone of Bohan, son of Reuben. The boundary then went up to Debir from the valley of Achor and turned north of Gilgal, which faces the pass of the Adullam south of the gorge, and continued along the waters of Enemesh and came out at Enrogel. Then it ran up the valley of Ben Hinnom along the southern slope of the Jebusite city, that is Jerusalem. From there it climbed to the top of the hill west of Hinnom, valley of the northern end of the valley of Rephaim, From the hilltop boundary, headed toward the spring of the waters of Nepatot, came out at the towns of Mount Ephron, and went down towards Balah, that is Kirath Jearim. Then it curved westward from Balah to Mount Seir, and ran along the northern slope of Mount Jearim, that is Keshlon, continued down to Beth Shemesh, and crossed to the Timnah. It went to the northern slope of Ekron, turned towards Shikharon, passed along to Mount Balah, and reached Jabneel. The boundary ended at the sea. The western boundary is the coastline of the Mediterranean Sea. These are the boundaries around the people of Judah by their clans. In accordance with the Lord's command to him, Joshua gave Caleb son of Jephunneh a portion in Judah, in Kirath Arba, that is Hebron. Arba was the forefather of Anak. From Hebron, Caleb drove out 3 Anakites, Sheshai, Ahiman, and Tamai, the sons of Anak. From there, he marched against the people living in Debir, formerly called Kirath Sefer. And Caleb said, I will give my daughter Ashka in marriage to the man who attacks and captures Kirath Sefer. Othniel, son of Kenaz, Caleb's brother, took it. So Caleb gave his daughter Ashka to him in marriage. One day when she came to Othniel, she urged him to ask her father for a field. When she got off her donkey, Caleb asked her, What can I do for you? She replied, Do me a special favor, since you have given me land in the Negev. Give me also springs of water. So Caleb gave her the upper and lower springs. This is the inheritance of the tribe of Judah according to its clans. The southernmost towns of the tribe of Judah in the Negev toward the boundary of Edom were Kabzeel, Eder, Jagur, Kinah, Dimona, Adah, Kadesh, Hazor, Ethan, Zeptelem, Beloth, Hazor, Hadatha, Kiroth, Hezron, that is Hazor, Amam, Shema, Moladah, Hazar, Gadah, Heshmon, Beth Pelet, Hazar, Shua, Beersheba, Bezoithia, Bala, Laim, Ezim, Etholad, Kesil, Hormah, Ziklag, Madmana, Sansana, Lebath, Shilahim, Ain, and Rimmon, a total of 29 towns and their villages. In the western foothills, Eshtal, Zorah, Eshna, Zenoah, En Ganim, Tapua, Enam, Jarmuth, Adullam, Succoth, Azekah, Sharaim, Dethaim, Gedera, or Gedurathaim, 14 towns and their villages, Zidane, Hadash, Migal, Gad, Delin, Mizpah, Jokthil, Lachish, Bozkath, Eglon, Kaban, and Lamas, Kithlish, Gedron, Beth Dagon, Namah, and Makeda, 16 towns and their villages, Libnah, Ether, Eshan, Ipah, Eshnab, Nizib, Kali, Kalia, Exib, and Marisha, 9 towns and their villages, Ekron with its surrounding settlements and villages west of the Ekron, all that were in the vicinity of Ashdod, together with their villages, Ashdod and its surrounding settlements and villages, and Gaza, its settlements and villages, as far as the Wadi of Egypt and the coastline of the Mediterranean Sea, and the hill country, Shamir, Jatir, Succoth, Danath, Kirath, Sanah, that is Debir, Anab, Eshtemoth, Anim, Goshen, Halan, and Gila, 11 towns and their villages, Arab, Dumah, Ishan, Jahim, Beth, Tapua, Pekah, Humta, Kirtha, Arba, that is Hebron, and Zir, the 9 towns and their villages, Mayon, Carmel, Zip, Japut, Jutha, Jezreel, Jokdim, Zanoah, Cain, Gibeah, and Timah, 10 towns and their villages, Halul, Bezur, Gedor, Marath, Beth Anath, and Eltekon, 6 towns and their villages. Kirath Baal, that is Kirath Jearim. Rabbah, 2 towns and their villages. In the wilderness, Beth Araba, Madin, Sikah, then Bashan, city of salt. In Gedi, 6 towns and their villages. Judah cannot dislodge the Jebusites who were living in Jerusalem. To this day, the Jebusites live there with the people of Judah.